What is up, Super Nintendos? It is episode 699 of Nintendo Voice Chat, the best damn podcast, not Nintendo, not video game, podcast in the world. I'm your host, Seth Macy. I am joined today by Reb, all things considered, Valentine.
It's episode 699, so the next one is 700.
Yes.
700 episodes of NVC?
Yes, I will get to that in a moment after I introduce Logan, Toadstool Boardroom Plant.
Hey, you mentioned it, just like we got a request to in the Facebook group.
Somebody asked, why don't we talk about it? I was like, I don't know, we just never mentioned it before. But yes, you can listen to NPR and hear Reb, and then you can listen to Toadstool Barroom and Barroom. Yeah, it's just Logan just getting drunk with a bunch
that's
of,
the 21 plus version.
To be clear, Toadstool Boardroom is actually like Logan's podcast. I was on NPR one time. If you listen to NPR on a daily basis, you will not hear me every day.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But
not yet.
Yeah, it is episode 699, and if you're wondering if we have anything planned for episode 700, yes, we are working with the ESA. That's actually the European Space Agency. We're going to fire a GameCube into the sun to celebrate. Actually, we don't have anything planned for episode 700. I'm sorry. We're just going to be really excited about the rollover to 700. But we're not here to talk about next week's episode. We're here to talk about this week's episode, the topic of which is the Nintendo Partner Direct Overview. But before we get to that, I have some housekeeping. Oh man, what a jerk. Make sure to tune in to IGN's Fan Fest beginning February 19th for exclusive interviews, trailers, gameplay, and more from the biggest names in games and entertainment, including Dune Part 2, which, by the way, personally, so stoked. Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender, anime such as Oshi no Ko and Solo Leveling. I don't know what that is. Game exclusives from WWE, 2K24, and Street Fighter 6, along with reveals from Marvel Comics, Spawn Rat City, and more. How could they fit that much in? We'll also be streaming live on all of IGN's platforms for the main event on February 23rd and 24th, with even more reveals and surprises from fan favorite shows, movies, comics, and games. And that concludes the housekeeping portion of this podcast. So yes, boy, was there a direct today. Anyone who got their hopes up, I think you deserve what happened to you.
No, come on. No, okay. Logan and I are gonna fight you this morning because
I think we're higher on it than you said.
Yeah, I when we were talking about how we were going to handle this direct internally, there was a suggestion of doing like a live reaction. And I agree with the people who said it will probably not be worth getting up at 5 a.m. to do a 6 a.m. reaction to this direct. Correct.
That was
said,
correct.
I enjoyed the direct. I thought it was pretty good.
Too. Pardon me. Excuse me. I did not say I did not enjoy the direct. I enjoyed the direct. But anyone who had their hopes up that they were going to announce Prime 4 coming out today.
It's a partner direct!
Well, somebody pointed out on the Facebook group that Retro is technically a partner.
No, Metroid is first party. No. Some people were like,
second.
Way too excited. No.
Yeah. And that stinks, but you always got to temper your expectations. But yeah, it was a fine direct. I knew we were in for something when I jumped in and saw that it wasn't live. It was just a video. And I was like, well.
What's the sentence Dan Stapleton hates? He says we can't use it in reviews. There's something here for everybody.
Something for everyone?
Oh.
Something for everyone here. I think there was.
Well, there certainly was something here for everyone who didn't want to a Metroid Prime 4 reveal. Obviously we weren't. Yeah, anyway. But all right, so I don't think I'm going to read through the whole list because that would be silly. You could just watch it, but I would like to touch on some of the games that the both of you were most excited about. And actually the overlap, the Venn diagram of games Logan's stoked on and games Reb is stoked on has a pretty significant overlap. Mm-hmm. So Reb, going through this list, and let's do it chronologically. What had you stoked first?
Yeah, I'm gonna start from the top down. The first one I see on here that I'm really interested in is actually Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. So I have not played Ender Lilies, but I've had a lot of friends really hyped on Ender Lilies, and this is, I guess, the sequel to that.
Okay.
I've never played them. I don't know what this is about, but it looks kind of sick. I'm into the aesthetic. It's got kind of this, I don't know, like a little bit of like near aesthetic plus maybe some inside going on. I don't know. I don't know. So, have either of you played Ender Lilies? Can you tell me
No,
anything
I
about
haven't.
this, or can I just
No,
like
I
invent?
was
Oh man, I was hoping one of you had played it, so you
no,
can
I'm
hype
holding
me
out
up
for
on it.
Ender Chrysanthemums.
Okay, well, this is maybe a boring thing to start this talking about this
That's how
direct
they
by
started
calling out.
That's how they
But
started the.
well,
Well, I guess
no,
that's not
boring
how they
because I don't
started
have
it,
any information about this. But
Oh.
what I'm saying is, I liked the look of this. I've heard good things
Yeah.
about Ender Lilies. Nintendo Voice Chat Facebook group. Tell me why I should play Ender Lilies. I'm interested in this.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
comments. Hit the comments and tell us all why we should be playing this game. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna play it because it looks like something that I would really enjoy. So
Yeah. The one right after it though was one that caught both Logan and my attention.
and that was
I took a sip
A
of coffee
Ranger, a
as you
role
asked that.
puzzling adventure. It looks really cool. Yeah, this is a top-down 2D puzzler that's coming this summer, and basically the whole world is a grid that just moves when you move as the main character, and I think that can lead to some really cool
Yeah.
puzzle opportunities. And yeah, definitely some Zelda vibes from this, and just some of
Yeah.
the puzzles on display here. And yeah, I really like the art style too. So this one looks really
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the most gorgeous games that they showed off in the direct. Reb, and you're also excited for this.
Yeah, same reason. I love a good top-down puzzler. I talked on the show earlier this year about Void Stranger, so I love sort of like top-down grid-based puzzlers where you're moving a little guy around and trying to figure out how to arrange things in a room just right. This doesn't seem to quite be a Sokoban, but I still really like the vibe and the potential for really interesting little brain teasers. Yeah, I think this looks cool. I had never heard. I don't know if it was like newly announced or I'd never heard
Newly
of it
announced
before.
today. Yeah, this is new.
Yeah. Okay. I freaking love it. Yeah. Sign me up for whatever this is. Summer? Yeah. Great. I'll play this during the summer on my Switch.
Yeah. All right. And Logan, you just saw this instantly, and we're just like, "Yep, this is for me."
Yep, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really love how it looks, but it didn't excite me. I don't know why.
Doesn't seem like a you kind of game. It's okay.
I like puzzle games quite a bit, but this one's, I don't know. I'll give it a shot. I probably. So, all right. The one game that I shouldn't say the one, but the next game in the list chronologically, there's a demo coming out today, and I'm going to try that demo out, and that's Unicorn Overlord, because I've talked about how much I love it, the way that it looks, and I'm a little hesitant because I'm not really a strategy RPG guy, but I might, overlook that I did there, because I like aesthetically, I really like it. So, Logan, are you excited for Unicorn Overlord? Will you be downloading the demo?
Yeah, I'll definitely check out the demo. I think that it looks really cool. We've talked about this one before, just the really striking art style and
Yeah.
another tactics option on Switch that looks really great. So yeah, I'm glad this one's getting a demo because I think that it's really important to vibe with the combat style of a game like this. That's the majority of it's going to be combat. So I think it's nice that people can get their hands on it before it comes out.
I
agree that vibes are critical.
Every single time. So when they first announced this game, I looked at it and said, "Oh, this looks beautiful. It looks like it's probably not for me. I'm kind of, hit or miss on tactics games. I think I'll probably skip this one." But every single time they show a new trailer, I inch a little closer to, "Oh, what if I
Okay.
buy this? I like the
Okay.
art style. I like the music. I could get into this." So I don't know. Maybe the demo might clinch it for me. Maybe I will just download the demo and see how I feel about it from there and make a call one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, it has a pretty great collector's edition that you can pretty easily get as well. So I'm kind of on the fence with that. It might even just be like, I don't like the game, but I buy the collector's edition anyway, because that's the kind of person that I am. So yeah, that's later today, which I'm assuming by the time that you're listening to this, it's already, or watching this, it's already out. So, give your thoughts on the Facebook group or in the comments. Next up, we have Monster Hunter Stories. Logan, you're a Monster Hunter fan. Are you excited about Monster Hunter Stories?
Yeah, so Monster Hunter Stories was originally a 3DS game, and it also has a mobile port on iOS and Android that came out a few years ago. And this is the Monster Hunter series' take on Pokemon. It's a monster tamer, catcher, and battler with kind of this rock, paper, scissors like formula. I've played a little bit of both the original and of 2, and I don't know, they skew pretty young in terms of the complexity of the combat and stuff. So this isn't really one for me, but I think it's cool this one's getting a second shot on Switch because it was a fairly late 3DS game when some people were already kind of moving on from the platform. And yeah, it's got a really cute art style. It's fun to see the Monster Hunter monsters kind of used in a different way in this game. So I think it's a good one that's coming to Switch. It's a nice fit for the platform, but probably not one for me.
Yeah, and it also feels like a late Switch game as
Yeah,
well.
that's true.
Yeah. I'm just happy
Yeah.
to see again. I There's a whole conversation to be had about why it sucks that game preservation is often dependent on companies re-releasing things over and over again, but it is nice to see something that was I remember being fairly beloved on the 3DS. Like I
Yeah,
remember people liking this game.
totally.
Getting sort of a new lease on life and becoming available to more people.
Yeah, it looks cute. It doesn't look like it's for me, and that's fair
It's
enough. It
fine.
doesn't all have to be about me. Protagonist of reality. All right, Epic Mickey rebrushed.
Yeah.
Was not expecting this one at
No.
all. I Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the original kind of met with sort of like
Yeah.
middling reviews? Like it
Yeah, it
seemed like
was.
a weird. Reb, did you play the original?
No, so I didn't have a Wii. I had a GameCube. The GameCube landed right when I hit the age where my parents started saying, "Okay, if you want video games, you have to save up and buy them yourself." So I saved and saved and
Oh
saved, and
my
I got my own
god!
GameCube, and I started buying my own games, and I got a couple for Christmas. But after that, I didn't. I had to buy all of my own consoles. So at the
Man.
time, like over the years that the Wii was out, I only had like enough pocket money to salary from first high school job to buy handhelds. So I did not get a Wii, but then I got a Wii U at the time when I finally started having disposable income. So I skipped the Wii
Damn, that's
generation
messed up.
entirely. I know, right? It's a horrible
Welcome to
generation.
adulthood.
It's a
Here's the
horrible
worst
generation to
Nintendo
skip.
console.
I think it's the best Nintendo generation to skip personally. I'll throw that out there. I don't
The
like
Wii
the Wii. I
generation?
don't really like it at
Oh.
all.
I was one of those dorks that was really into Kingdom Hearts. I just thought Kingdom Hearts was the coolest thing ever, but I also didn't have a PlayStation, so I wasn't playing Kingdom Hearts either. I just really liked the aesthetic of Kingdom Hearts. I played Chain of
Fair.
Memories and thought it was the best thing in the world. It's not. Anyway, Epic Mickey got announced, and I remember looking at this and going, "Oh my god, this is sick! Like, look at this. Mickey's like on this kind of slightly edgier adventure. He's fighting that bunny guy. He's doing things
Yeah.
with ink and finding like lost cartoons and stuff. I was so into the idea of this game, and I never got to play it. And then it turns out it was kind of maybe just fine. So I think
Yeah.
what's going to happen, I'm stoked that this is coming back out again. Really excited to see games get a new lease on life. I'm really excited to play this. What's probably going to happen is I'm going to play it for a couple hours and be like, yeah, this is just fine, and then move on.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll love it. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm finally going to get to be Epic Mickey.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when this game was sort of in development in like the pre-release marketing stages, and it was getting hyped up pretty hard everywhere,
Yeah.
and there were really, really high expectations.
There's
And
some
I kind
wild
of,
development stories of this out
Yeah.
there too.
yeah. And I'm curious as to whether or not a lot of that hype and marketing and sort of excitement around this impossible, these impossible expectations might have led to that game sort of getting middling
Maybe,
reviews.
yeah.
Like I think maybe there's disappointment, and now that we don't have all of that behind it, it's just like mentioned in a partner direct. Maybe we'll get to see the game for what it really is, and that might be an exciting thing. But what are you thinking about this, Logan?
Yeah, I played this one on the Wii back in the day. It was one that I never finished, but I think the main takeaway I had from it was its art style was just too good for what that console could deliver. So I'm excited that it's in HD. I'm excited that it's getting a fresh coat of paint. And yeah, it's not bad. I remember it getting pretty average reviews, 7s, maybe a couple 8s,
Yeah.
but it's really its sequel, The Power of Two, that got the really poor reviews that maybe dragged down the reputation of the entire franchise. So
That's
no, I think this is a
right.
fun one that's coming back. I'm down to play this one and actually finish it this time. Maybe I'll remember why I didn't finish it the first time.
I have a weird soft spot for when Disney takes wild swings. Like I'm not a Disney adult. I'm not super high on Disney stuff just generally, but I really love when Disney gets a little weird. And Epic
Yeah.
Mickey is one of those things. Kingdom Hearts was and in some ways still is one of those things. There's actually a mobile game out that I can't remember the name of. I knew I should have looked it up before I talked about this segment. There's a mobile game out that's like all about Disney villains, and it's kind of a visual novel thing, but it's really weird and wild and interesting. Someone's gonna remember what this is in the comments. But it's doing like really
Shout it
interesting.
out.
What?
Shout it out.
Yeah.
Trying to encourage engagement.
Yes, please remind me of what this is. But I've heard that there's this mobile game that is dealing with Disney villains that's still running and is like really popular and is just very weird and does like really interesting things with their personalities and characters. And I'm super into that. And on the flip side, you've got stuff like Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is very fun and people love, and I enjoyed myself, but it feels very sanitized Disney in a lot
Yeah.
of ways in terms of tone. And so I love the weird swings. I love when Disney just gets a little strange. And I think Epic Mickey is such a bizarro pitch
Yeah.
that I'm so glad was greenlit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I remember when Kingdom Hearts, the original Kingdom Hearts
Oh my
was like I remember reading about it in
God.
like EGM.
That's the
And
coolest stuff.
kind of like you, I mean, I was an adult with a job, but I didn't always have like the $60 to just spend on video game when I could like spend $60 on beer with my friends. Um and I am kind of glad I didn't get into Kingdom Hearts because that would be my entire identity
Oh
now.
my
I
God.
just know that game would have dragged me down and I would have been the Kingdom Hearts guy.
Dude,
So
you
I
watch
feel
that
like
opening cinematic when you're like a preteen teenager and all hope is lost. It's
as
simple
a
and
like
clean.
22-year-old
ruins
being
you.
like, wait a minute, there's Square characters and Disney characters. This is the craziest
Oh
thing. I
my
have to play this
God.
game. And then I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. Because now I would be arguing about 3 and 3/38, whatever that I don't know. There's like one game that has a really strange name.
Yeah.
Just the one.
It's like
so.
385 over 2 days or something. I hope that number is right. Twisted Wonderland is the Disney villain mobile game
Oh, awesome.
that I keep meaning to play. I need to get on that.
Well, now you have no excuse. Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance coming out June 21st. All this did was make me realize that I never did finish Shin Megami Tensei V. Big surprise there. But what are they adding to this other than the word vengeance to make me want to go out and buy this version? Or anyone who's listening, why should you go out and buy this new Shin Megami Tensei? Logan, are you
They're
a Shin
adding in
Megami?
I'm not a fan of this, but I did have to do some looking into it when I was covering all the games in the database this morning, and they're basically adding an entire new story chapter in this that kind of has an alternate ending where you can choose revenge instead of choosing the main story path that the original goes down. So basically, this is like the Persona 5 Royal or the Dragon Quest 11S version of Shin Megami Tensei
Okay.
5, right? It's the expanded version that comes out a couple years later with more content. So yeah, this game got pretty good reception when it first launched, and I think it's interesting it hasn't quite taken off as much as some of the other big RPG series have in recent years because it's from Atlas. It's in the same vein as Persona, so I think it's interesting this one hasn't taken off in the same way.
I'll be honest with you, this trailer was confusing to me. I did not understand from watching it that this was Shin Megami Tensei 5 with extra content. I thought this was like some sort of Shin Megami Tensei 5 spinoff. I didn't follow what was happening here.
Yeah, it was a little, the messaging was a little muddled, but
Yeah.
that's fine. You know what I did, and you know what I've been doing, and I said I wasn't going to do, which was go through the entire list chronologically. So I want to go back to how we started this. Reb, what's the next game on this list that has gotten you excited?
Well, with apologies for skipping Super Monkey Ball, really stoked about Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, which I've
Yes.
talked about on the show
Nice.
before. I acknowledging the fact that there may have been trailers out there that I just didn't see. This was the first time I've seen any like extended look at what this game actually is, which was nice. It looks like there's some time travel shenanigans going on where you're going
Love
back
that.
in time and exploring and fighting monsters and doing different things, and then going back to your own time and building this little village out. Everything that I want from Fantasy Life is here. You've got all the little jobs that you can do, and you can do your little crafting jobs, and you can do your little combat jobs, and you can go dungeon crawling, or you can sit at home and do carpentry. All of that stuff looks really fun. It does look very 3DS to me, which the previous game
Yes.
was on the 3DS or the 3DS. So it doesn't feel like they have advanced much in terms of gameplay or anything. It just looks like more Fantasy Life, which is fine. That's kind of what I wanted. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know realistically what else I would have wanted from this other than just more Fantasy Life. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna play this. October is a very long time. I wish it was coming sooner.
Yeah. That's Fantasy Life is one of those 3DS games that I missed out on. It's like that and Ever Oasis are two of the games that I
Ever
really
Oasis
wish
is good.
that I had played, and so I'll probably check this one out. But Logan, what got you excited? What's the next game on this list, or one that we passed over?
Yeah, I got to go back to Super Monkey Ball, and it's unfortunately not for a good reason. So yeah,
Oh,
Super Monkey Ball,
no.
Banana Rumble, hooray, new Monkey Ball. Yeah, I'm an enormous fan of the original 2 Super Monkey Ball games from the GameCube. I think that people say there's no such thing as a perfect video game. Super Monkey Ball 2 is a perfect video game. There is
Whoa.
nothing that I would change about that game. It is immaculate. It has just perfect precision pinpoint controls, amazing level design that the beginner levels are fun for a party, and then the expert and master levels, you will bang your head against a brick wall for hours and hours to get through them, and it's just phenomenal. And then it has this selection of 10 party games that are just awesome, and that was over 20 years ago, and there has not been a good game in the series since Super Monkey Ball 2, despite Sega continuing to trot them out time after time again. And this is the first original Super Monkey Ball game in a while, because the other 2 on Switch are remakes. They remade Banana Blitz, which was the Wii one, and then Banana Mania was supposed to be a remake of 1 and 2, but it's the most disappointed I've ever been in a video game in my entire life. Honestly, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is the biggest disappointment ever that I have felt in a video game, because they ruined the controls. It controls like garbage. It just does. The later levels are nearly impossible because of how they just ruined the physics system in Banana Mania. So I'm hoping that this can bring something back to the series, being the first original one in a while, but I wasn't super inspired by anything I saw in the trailer. It looks like they're just doubling down on, it's a party game, as we see here. There's 16 monkey balls on stage at once. That's not why I play monkey ball.
What?
I don't really think that's why anyone plays monkey ball. So I'm going to play it because I'm obsessed with the franchise, but I'm not hopeful that it's going to be anything very good.
I'll play it, but I won't enjoy it.
You're not excited for the inevitable Monkey Ball 99?
That would be cool. I would play Monkey Ball.
Wait, what? The amount of monkeys is... So 1 monkey is fine. 16 monkeys is bad. 99 monkeys good? Explain this to me.
Yeah, because this isn't committing either way, right? This is, it's Monkey Ball, and then there's 16 of you. Monkey Ball 99, you know what you're getting there. You're getting a ridiculous, silly time. Like F-Zero 99, F-Zero should either be a single-player hardcore racer, and then it totally worked in 99, and I didn't do it.
But if we had F-Zero 66 or F-Zero 16, that would be unacceptable to you.
If it had like items and garbage and bad physics, yeah, that would be unacceptable.
How do you feel about Mario 35?
Mario 35 is cool. I wish it wasn't gone forever.
I'm trying to figure out where
just wiped it from the internet, but it's cool.
I'm trying to figure out where the amount of things on screen number threshold is for you.
I'm just mad at the Monkey Ball franchise.
No,
it's
that's
like
fair. I'm
like my childhood best friend that has we've gone in completely different directions in life, and I want it to come back to me, but it's just not going to.
And yeah, my personal problem with 16 monkeys competing is that they're gonna go flying off the edges, and it goes against the core tenet of being an ape, which is ape shall never kill ape, which we all know from, of course, the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. That explains why you never played Donkey Kong 64 multiplayer. That explains a lot.
I love Donkey Kong 64 multiplayer. That is so good.
Seth didn't know it existed.
Incredible.
I didn't even know that there was a multiplayer.
Sorry, derailing.
I guess the difference I can more articulately put this is that Monkey Ball 99, I would imagine it would be everybody on their own course, and then like Tetris, you're doing your own Tetris board, and then the things you do cause distractions and obstacles on other people's boards. I would like Monkey Ball 99 if it was that. If it's just you're rolling down the track, bumping into 98 other monkeys. So it would depend how they would do it, I guess. Well, I don't need 16 monkey balls on the track at once.
I'm going to use this as an excuse to call out engagement again. I'm going to say, tell us, what's your perfect number of monkeys in the comments below?
One
monkey.
One is the correct answer. Yeah. I'm going to just quickly shout out Gundam Breaker 4. I've never played a Gundam Breaker game, but the idea of like making little Gundam models appeals to me. I have several half-finished Gundam Gunpla in my house. And maybe if I played them on a video game, I'd actually complete how sick they are. That's the thing about Gundam is like these friggin' robots are so awesome. They're so badass. And then I watch the series and I'm like, maybe I don't need to know everything about these. Maybe I could just enjoy them as tiny plastic robots with sniper rifles. So.
This is super not in my wheelhouse whatsoever, but I did enjoy, as I was watching this direct, listening to this section and hearing a very cheery Nintendo Direct voice. This is called Gunpla.
Gunpla.
or however they said it as. Thank you. Explaining
And you could get parts for your Gunpla. Yeah. I don't know anything about this game. I actually think I own one of these games on like Steam and have just never played it. But okay. What's next? Reb, what are you excited about?
I'm a bunch of stuff like mildly like another Crab's Treasure we've seen before. That I think that looks really
good.
fun. I think being able to play as a little crab dude, run around, pick up different shells, fight off little fishy guys. I don't know, that game seems fun. Seems like it has a good sense of humor. I'm into it. I don't have anything like complex or deep to say about it. I just think it'd be fun to be a crab.
I mean, for once, I'm sick of enemy crabs. Let's be friendly crabs.
I will say these guys have a great social media game. There was like a whole saga recently. Shout out to these developers. Their office got robbed like multiple times in a row.
What?
And they were just, their social media was just leaning into the sort of humor of being robbed not once, not twice, but 3 times. And they were being very like self-aware about it. What did they say? I think they had an Xbox fridge stolen that had like presumably because someone thought it was an actual Xbox they were stealing, but they just stole the fridge and it had like either nothing in it or just some random soda in it, and so they didn't get anything out of it. I don't know. They were just their social media presence is really fun. They seem like a really cool studio, Aggro Crab, and this game looks good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything more to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Crab.
It looks good. It looks fun, and I'm curious.
It's crab season here in the Bay. I hope I get to eat some crab soon.
Wow, you know what? It's always crab season here in Maine. So
oh my gosh.
Not to brag.
Battle of the Coasts.
I can go get crab right.
So can I.
Logan, what's next?
It's crab season.
I'm super excited that the Star Wars Battlefront games are coming to Nintendo Switch. Battlefront 1 and 2, I played so much of these at friends' houses on PS2 and on original Xbox back in the day, and they're so much fun. They have this just arcadey feel that the modern 2 Battlefronts, which I like, would just never manage to capture in the same way. And online multiplayer with up to 64 people in Star Wars Battlefront, I think is going to be super fun. It's coming to all platforms, and it just looks exactly like what I want. An awesome fit for Nintendo Switch. And Aspire's been cranking out a ton of classic Star Wars console and PC games on Switch. There was that Heritage Collection that had 8 different Star Wars games included, and now that these 2 are joining, you can pretty much get any classic Star Wars game you want on Nintendo Switch. It's become one of the ultimate Star Wars machines. It's awesome.
No Rogue Squadron.
That's true. That's a big miss. Yeah, the Rogue Squadrons need to come back.
That's a big... I have a feeling that they're probably working on a repackaging of that, and we'll get that for like a summer direct or something. Yeah, I never played the Battlefront games. I don't know why. Probably because I was so anti-prequel for a while there that I wouldn't play anything that had them. But 64 players, like, that's a fun way to play a shooter game. I do love big maps and a lot of people. We're not going to talk about that. Reb, I see you're like,
like 64, yes.
64 is a good. It's a good number. All right, Reb, what's next? You got your kitty, by the way. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you're missing out on Reb's cat.
Her sister is Luca. I have a Luca and Robo pair.
Nice.
Proto Trigger.
She lives on the 2nd floor.
What?
That's a song reference.
Oh, God bless you, Seth. I don't know what you're talking about.
Somebody got that out there in Radioland. Some old person.
Oh my gosh. No, next for me, Barry. So we didn't talk because it sounds like none of us are really into it, but like earlier in the show, there's been over the Xbox community, there's been a whole tizzy about
a kerfuffle, rather.
A kerfluffle. A whole kerfluffle about Xbox games going to other platforms. We did an episode on it on NVC a while back where we talked about how neat that would be. All sorts of stuff. Anyway.
Great comments on that one.
Oh my God. I don't think those were regular NVC listeners, frankly.
Not at all.
Anyway, earlier in the show, Grounded was announced as coming to Nintendo Switch. I've never played Grounded, not really a game I'm super interested in, but I've heard good things about it. It seems like it's gone well. The audience seems very happy about it. So if that if that intrigued you, you should probably play Grounded on Switch because it seems like it'll be really good. Anyway, all this is leading up to me saying, buried in the montage,
Yes.
buried in the montage at the end of this direct is the real winner of the Xbox games coming to Switch scenario, Pentiment.
Yes.
Pentiment, freaking phenomenal game. I played that on
we gave it a 10.
Xbox. Oh my god, it's so good. That is Contra. That is not Pentiment. You're looking at that thinking that's Pentiment. It is not.
No.
Oh, because it's the montage. That's
There it
Pentiment
is.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 3 seconds of footage.
Right, I forgot
It's
about
hard
that.
for
Not all of
Red
this
to-
montage. Pentiment is this game. It is from Josh Sawyer, who's like a very renowned developer who's worked on I believe like New Vegas and several other games that people are just really stoked about. But he and the team over there have done this really interesting weirdo story game set in 1500s Bavaria about this guy named Andreas Mahler who shows up at he's an illuminator. He illustrates manuscripts for like art in the 1500s, and he shows up at this monastery and there's a murder, and his friend, this monk, gets blamed for the murder. And so he kind of becomes sort of a rookie investigator and tries to figure out who actually did it. Pentiment takes place in 3 acts. There's 3 different sort of mysteries to solve across the 3 different acts. Critically, and one of the things I love about Pentiment is that you are not necessarily, there's not necessarily a right answer. I mean, there might be, but you are effectively going down this path trying to figure out who is going to be held responsible for these murders, and it may or may not be a person you actually think did the crime. And the choices you make impact the story in a whole bunch of different ways. It's not just a concrete, oh, you can get a good ending or a bad ending scenario. It's very I played through this game, and at the end of my playthrough, my Andreas was a total loser who had screwed up every relationship in his entire life. And honestly, it was great. Like, I love this game. Really cool medieval history stuff. Really cool. If you're into religious history, I grew up Catholic, and so I had like a lot of sort of innate knowledge of like weird religious history and cool, like, I don't know, creepy saint stuff. It's really fun. I love this game so much. It was one of my favorite things I played a couple of years ago. I believe it came out in 2022. But yeah, glad this is getting a new chance to reach a different audience on the Switch. I think it's a great Switch game.
Very cool. Logan, what is your experience with this game, or do you not have it?
Yeah, this is one where I played it a little bit on Game Pass and kind of said, wow, I hope this comes to Switch someday. I placed a bet that it would and put it down, and here it is. So I'm very excited to dive into this. It very much seems like my kind of game. And yeah, this is a really great one to get from Xbox. And on that note, Hi-Fi Rush, PlayStation 5, not Nintendo Switch. So yeah,
Not Nintendo
don't know if
Switch.
we're getting that. And it looks right now like we're not. So that's an interesting note of today as well.
That's another very good game that I think would do quite well on the Switch, or match quite well with the Switch's sort of vibe. So let's that, you know, also among that 3-second bit of footage in the montage, it's out today or tomorrow rather.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you'll be able to get this like immediately.
If you're looking for something to play right now, like this is it. It's not even very long. It's a fairly short, sweet game, but God, it's so good. I'm so happy about Pentiment. This was the highlight of the show for me, and it was buried in the montage. I might play it again.
I almost like missed it because I was like, oh, it's a montage, and I started to like do other things that I had to do for work, and then the Slack blew up. Everyone's like, oh my God, and that's how I knew. Like if I hadn't looked at Slack, I wouldn't have known. So Logan, Penny's Big Breakaway, did that excite you at all?
Yeah, this is one I've talked about on the show before. I'm really excited about. This is a 3D platformer coming from some of the developers of Sonic Mania. It's their first kind of game as a new independent studio, and it's a shadow drop. It's out today. It's out right now. I haven't had a chance to download it and dive into it yet, but it just looks awesome. I've watched a little bit more gameplay footage of it and just looks super fluid, awesome platforming, good collectibles. Like if you want a classic 3D platformer, maybe kind of looks like N64 era, or honestly like a lost PS2 GameCube era game or a Dreamcast game. This game looks really, really cool. I'm excited to see kind of what the reception is to it now that it's out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it's good or not. I don't know why I think that, they shadow dropped it today, it's going to be bad, but I don't know. Well, I'm hesitant. So I rely on you, Logan, to give me a fair and honest appraisal of this game when you inevitably play it, beat it all. So, Pocket Card Jockey, that's coming to Nintendo
like
Switch
that?
finally.
That's
that was
an
like what we
NVC
talked
cult
about
favorite. I
last.
feel like people
I was
in
gonna
the
say,
community love Pocket Card Jockey. Yeah, this came to mobile a little bit ago. It
Yep.
was originally
That's
on
good.
3DS, and yeah, I'm excited to play this because this is one that I bought when the 3DS shop was closing down because I totally missed it. I've never played this, and now I'll buy it again on Switch. That's how they get me. They're bringing all these 3DS games to Switch now that the shops are closed, and we all scrambled to buy Monster Hunter Stories and Pocket Card Jockey and all these other things, and now they're just rolling them out on Nintendo Switch. But that's a good thing. This is a really good one to come back.
Yeah, I bought it on iPhone based on industry legend Cat Bailey's glowing recommendations many times on the show. And yeah, and now I wish I hadn't because I think it'll just be much better experience on the Nintendo Switch. So that is coming now. It's out. Go get it. Go buy that game.
Shadow drops today.
A lot of shadow drops. There was a cool NSO announcement, which if they hadn't have said coming to Nintendo Switch Online, I would have thought, okay, now the Rare Replay Collection is coming. But so we get the Battletoads game for Super Nintendo, which I've never played, but has got to be better than the NES one. That game sucks. I don't care what everyone says. It's impossibly difficult. RC Pro-Am rules. That's coming in the NES. Snake Rattle and Roll is another NES game. It's fine. It's whatever. Killer Instinct for the Super NES, I think was like the first 32 meg cartridge. Dude, me and my friend, oh my God, we used to play Killer Instinct so much. We had all the ultra combos memorized, and it was so stupid. You just like put the controller down and watch like a 64 hit combo go on. But that game also rules. And then the best news of all, I mean, come on, say it with me, Blast Core for Nintendo 64. Who's excited for Blast Core? Reb, you excited for Blast Core or what?
I don't see Donkey Kong 64 in here, therefore.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. I'm glad you got your Blast Core.
Blast Core is actually a game that is better remembered because I did play it on Rare Replay. Loved it when it came out. Played it. I literally stayed up an entire night, a work night, playing that game because I was having such a fun time. Got it on Rare Replay, started playing it, and I was like, this isn't nearly as good as I remember being delirious from lack of sleep. But yeah, no DK64.
Most old games are not. Yeah.
I know, especially like 64 games. A lot of those games have. Whoa! I actually talk about that during Miiverse. I played a game that definitely did not hold up, and I forgot to shout it out. But Logan, are you excited for any of these games from Rare coming to NSO?
To be honest, I rarely boot up those Nintendo Switch Online apps. I just don't do it. Yeah, I'm almost never.
Dude, I think it was the NES and the Super NES were like for 2022 my most played in my like Switch year in review were those two games or those two services rather. Man, okay, well that's fine. They blew out the show with endless Ocean Luminous, a very beautiful game that I don't necessarily think was the show-stopping bring the roof down kind of moment.
Nice.
It looked beautiful. It looks like a very fun, like kind of relaxing game. But there was something going on across the entire planet in Japan during their direct.
Yeah.
That Logan and Reb both very excited about. Reb, what was on that Japanese direct?
They're putting Mother 3 on Nintendo Switch Online.
Finally!
But only in Japan.
Monkey Paw!
Yeah. I don't know if I'm more excited or disappointed. I think it's a disappointment.
That's so rude. Why would you do that to us?
Yeah.
Mother 3 is so good. I played a localization, like a fan localization of it last year. I talked about it on the show. It is an absolutely incredible game. It also probably needs some slight tweaks if it's ever coming to the United States. Because there's some stuff in there where I was like, I would not write that into a video game myself personally. But like the core, the majority of that game, the core of that game is so good and beautiful. It's just like lovely coming of age story about dealing with grief as a family. And oh my gosh, it's so good in every possible way. And yet we don't get it. Japan gets it. the most optimistic take I can have on this is that Mother 3 is still on their minds, at least, and they are still willing
I
to
mean,
like
yeah.
consider finding ways to bring it to.
Oh, I have a theory, but I'll talk about that one.
No, what's your theory?
Well, okay. So the prevailing, not the prevailing theory, the theory behind why Mother 3 hasn't been localized and brought to the United States is because a lot of the music is just not
Yeah.
only is it influenced by the Beatles, but it's basically the Beatles.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in Japan, they have different what's the word I'm looking for? When not public domain. Is it public domain? Like Mickey Mouse, the original Mickey Mouse just went into the public
Yeah.
domain after what,
They have
75? But
different
in Japan,
rules around how that all
they have
can
different
work.
rules. And my theory is that the uh, number of years in that make it qualified in Japan to be in the public domain have passed, and now they're acknowledging it. But here in the United States, that's not going to happen for another like 50 years. So basically, what I'm saying is, when we're all putting on our Switch goggles and
Oh
going
my
into the
God.
Switchiverse, then you'll be able to play Mother 3 in the United States as an elderly person.
Oh my goodness.
No?
Logan, tell
Okay.
me what you think about Mother 3.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, I like Mother 3 a lot. I like Earthbound a little bit more. I'm just more partial to that world and those characters. But Mother 3 is awesome. I've similarly played a fan translation of it. And yeah, I just thought it was delightful. The combat system is awesome. It has that kind
Oh,
of
so
button
good.
pressing to the beat of the music thing that is super unique and really cool that a lot of other RPGs have kind of done in the time since it came out. And a really, really emotional, mature story for what that game looks like. Like it packs a punch that you wouldn't really expect from it. But no, it's just phenomenal. And yeah, Earthbound is just so underserved in general in Nintendo. We need a remake
Yeah.
of Earthbound and then eventually a remake of Mother 3 because that series needs to come back. I feel like it would do really well if it did. People like turn-based RPGs. They're in right now. They're very good and popular again right
Yep.
now. And I think
Mhm.
that Earthbound could be poised to be a new pillar of the genre if Nintendo gave it a chance. And I hope they do on the next system. And I think that they might.
I think the biggest issue is that you need Itoi involved, like the creator of the Mother games, because it's his writing and storytelling that really stands those things up. And he, by and large, he seems like a pretty happy guy. He seems like he's just content hanging out and making whatever art he wants, and that doesn't necessarily mean video games.
Oh man,
Stationary,
sounds so
Uh,
right?
dope.
Isn't that something he's into right now? I
I
thought
don't
he had like
remember.
some stationary.
Yeah, but he seems pretty content doing. He has said that like he generally supports these things, like being sort of available to more people and being thought about and used in
Yeah.
different ways. But he kind of put the onus on Nintendo to do something about it. I will say to your point, Logan, about the battle system having sort of that rhythmic thing to it. That is probably tied in with the reasons why it's hard to bring to the West because you could say, okay, well, why don't they just like tweak the tracks a little bit or take out the tracks that are problematic? Well, because the battle system is so dependent on pushing on because you basically attack to the rhythm. So whenever it's your turn to attack, you hit the button and then you keep going with the rhythm of the music. There's so much like weird small like you can't just tweak the music a little bit. You'd have to like totally redo everything around the battle system to make that work.
But we also got some Mother 3 merch announced that
Yes.
really
Yeah.
awesome. It's the set of
Adorable.
4 plushies that come together in
Really
a
good.
box set that probably are gonna go along and match this one. That's right here. Yeah, this is the
Flexing.
Mother 2 or Earthbound plush set that has Ness,
Cute.
Paula, Jeff, and Pooh. And I imported it. It was a little bit pricey, but worth it because there's just barely any official Earthbound merch anywhere. So yeah, it went
Oh.
back in stock, and I jumped.
Will you be importing the new one?
I don't think so. No, like I said, more of an Earthbound guy than a Mother 3 guy. So I'm good with this one.
Fair enough. Reb, will you be importing those adorable plushies?
I'm not a collector of stuff, so I don't usually import anything. I will say if I end up, we've talked about a trip to Japan in the next couple of years. If there is an opportunity to pick those things up, just like at a store while I'm there, it might be hard to resist.
Okay. We shall see. We'll check back on you in a couple of years to see where you're at with that. But so one of the things I kind of noticed about a lot of these games was that they look kind of, I want to say bad, but they definitely don't. Some of these weren't like
Little-
the most graphical powerhouse games.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a bummer because we have found out a very juicy rumor that the Switch 2 actually isn't coming until 2025. So we have probably a year of scrambling to come up with topics for the show each week. But yeah, Reb, do you think that's the right move on Nintendo's part, or do you think they're really screwing the pooch?
I mean, look, you gotta. It's really everything sort of comes down to what developers are able to do right now, right? Like if I am a game developer, and roughly a year ago, a Nintendo rep had a meeting with me and said, "Hey, we're starting to talk about the next system. Here's some like really loose info about what that is." I mean, I don't know how these conversations go. Nintendo's very secretive, but like here's some very loose info about what you should be targeting. Then I have a decision to make, right? Depending on the kind of game I'm making. I'm either making a game where it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like not like a high priority to like push the limits technologically on what I can be doing, like, pocket card jockey,
Yeah,
or I'm making
right.
something that is already kind of straining on the Switch, and I have some time and I can look at this information Nintendo has given me, and I'm like, okay, we're going to delay this out, another 6 months, a year, however long, and we're going to make it as good as possible for this new console launch, because then we're going to get all the marketing behind it. It's going to be,
Yeah.
a launch title, or it's going to be close to a launch title, and so we'll be able to come out with a bang and be on this new console at a time when there are not a lot of new games coming out on it yet. It's like a whole calculus. So I don't think anybody's sort of sitting there twiddling their thumbs on a strategy of, oh, let's just sort of release the dregs of the Switch or anything. Like I think a lot of these games look really good.
I oh, again, I wasn't saying that I'm just saying like some of these games look
Yeah.
kind of creaky now.
But it also, I mean, I think some of it ties into, like you were mentioning, the 3DS and Wii U. The Wii U represented a little bit less, but like the 3DS eShop closing, and so it's like, okay, well, we have a bunch of low hanging fruit of games that were really
Yeah.
beloved that we can give a second lease on life. We've got this Xbox partnership going on. We can bring some games over. I mean, they're killing time. They're killing time until the next Switch console, and you can't just have no games. So these are like most of this is I don't want to say easy stuff. Video games are not easy to make. They're not easy to port, but
You just
relatively
type
compared to
make a video game into ChatGPT and it works.
right, yeah, compared to a lot of other things they could be doing. This is like low hanging fruit. This is stuff you can just sort of like pop on over without 7 years of effort, and it'll be fine.
And I don't
Okay.
necessarily mind that, given how some of the rest of the industry looks, where it takes 7 years and hundreds of $millions to make a game to the point where it's looking unsustainable. I like that Nintendo is home and has these partners that are creating these very sustainable games that are just coming out. No, they aren't going to blow the world away with their visuals, but they're probably going to be pretty fun to play. And also, I also think that when you watch a full-length 40-minute Nintendo Direct, the games that visually look and run the best are the Nintendo-developed games. So then when you pluck
Fair
those
enough.
out and you watch a partner showcase and you see, oh, this is people who don't know the hardware as intimately as Nintendo does. So I think that might be part of what you were seeing there, Seth, with, yeah, some of these games do look rough, but like Fantasy Life, we said it looks like a 3DS game. I love 3DS games. I don't want dedicated handheld looking games to go away just because we don't have dedicated handheld consoles anymore. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that I really liked this show overall. I also want to shout out that Endless Ocean. Actually, Nintendo's publishing that game. So that is the one Nintendo published game in this entire direct. I think that's maybe why they ended with it, even if it wasn't the most exciting thing. That's kind of a first party thing. So that's their May game. We can put that on the calendar.
Fair
We
enough.
know that Paper Mario and Luigi's Mansion are coming sometime after that. So we're getting a good idea of the shape of 2024 as a whole for Nintendo's publishing offerings. I really think it sounds like they were planning to release a console this fall, and it sounds like maybe it did get pushed to next spring.
Mhm.
I'm getting a little bit tired of all the Switch 2 speculation, and it's only
I'm
February.
so tired.
I'm a little bit sick of it. But I will
We've
say,
only
if
been
they
doing it
did
for 2
push
years,
it
but
to March, it's probably for the best. I would hope Nintendo is trying to recreate the magic of the Switch's launch year, where they had a first party banger ready to go basically every month, if
yeah.
not every other month. And remember when Nintendo jumped into HD, it took them a while to kind of get a grasp on the reins of HD game development. It took several
Yeah.
years for them to get this consistent stream of games coming out of their first party studios. And maybe the Switch 2 is a big technical leap, and it's taking them a similar amount of time to kind of get used to the increased development costs and the increased resources required to make a game that runs at 1080p 60 fps, and maybe that's why it was pushed. And if that's the case, so we can have a strong launch lineup with a big 3D Mario, a Mario Kart, and other stuff, I'm fine with the slow holiday season.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially if it means they're going to crank out more ports. I think this report of Switch 2 getting pushed potentially to 2025 makes it more likely that we see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on Switch.
Oh
I
my
really do.
Oh
God.
my gosh, these are made up games. They are not happening.
They are not.
I think it could happen.
Like, this
I'm
is
just going to throw it out
totally
there.
fictional. Oh my
I
God.
agree. I think my thought on the issue here is that I think this is actually a brilliant move on Nintendo's part. If the Nintendo Switch successor is coming out in Q1 of 2025 rather than Q4 of this year. And I say that because I think the next Nintendo console is going to be, I think it's, look at how big the Switch was when it came out, and it was on the heels of the Wii U. People had written Nintendo off entirely, and then they came out with a Switch, and everyone says, okay, I want this now. And we all bought one. I think the next Nintendo console is going to be enormous, an extreme success for Nintendo. And by moving it out of that holiday window, they have just prevented years of bad blood from being formed, as is still the case. People are still mad at Sony. They're still mad at Microsoft because we had, I mean, granted, like the world was a post-apocalyptic, dystopia, but people are still mad you couldn't get one of those consoles for 2 years. So rather than have angry parents, be in the news like the hottest gift this year is the Nintendo Switch 2 and no one can get it, and there's $8,000 on eBay, and pushing it to the spring means that all the early adopters, all the people who want it, which us, everyone listening, can get it. If you can't get it, you can wait, and nobody's Christmas is ruined, because hopefully by Q4 there's plenty of these to go around. So that's my theory behind the quote unquote push of the Switch successor.
I do think that's a very optimistic take of you, Seth. I'm excited for whatever the next console is, and I have no reason to think it will be bad. But if you're talking about the Switch's success coming off of the lack of success of the Wii U, Nintendo doesn't have the best track record for following up a really successful console with a second really successccessful console. They usually flip-flop
like,
back and forth.
In
the
any
Wii U
investing
came off
prospectus,
the Wii, which came off the GameCube.
They, past performance is no indication of future, gains. But I do think that in more than maybe since the NES to Super NES days, I think Nintendo has their game pretty locked in, and I think that the next console is going to be gigantic from just a cultural standpoint. Will it be the most powerful? No. Will it do 4K? I doubt it'll do 4K. I doubt it'll do anything more than full HD. But it will be just the thing that everybody has to have. Maybe they'll launch it with a Pokemon, which I wanted to talk quickly. There's a Pokemon Presents announced for next week. Are they going to announce the game for the next Switch? No, obviously not. But yeah, on February 27th at 6 a.m., there will be a Pokemon Presents. Real quick, Reb, what do you think we're going to get?
Oh my God, this is such a painful topic. Oh my gosh, Logan bringing up people who fantasy life and talking about games that are that were previously handhelds, and then committing to keeping with the handheld technological capabilities and aesthetic, and not trying to be a giant console game. Maybe Pokemon should have done that. Good Lord. Yeah. Anyway, that's all aside. Everyone's talking about remakes. Everyone's talking about black and white. That's kind of the big expectation people have. There's no evidence for that. I have no secret insider knowledge. No one really does. But I think that's the thing most people are hoping for as sort of the next logical step. A lot of people are also talking about another Pokemon Legends game, like Legends Arceus, because people really enjoyed that. I don't think there is any way on Arceus's Green Earth that we get a new mainline Pokemon game this year. I think they would be out of their gosh danged minds to do something like that after Scarlet and Violet. They have got to take their time on the next one. I don't know if it'll be like a Switch 2 kind of thing or what they're doing, but good lord. I wouldn't be surprised if instead of one of those two things it was more Scarlet and Violet DLC, but maybe they're just done with that. We usually see spin-offs at these things, at these Pokemon Presents. I feel like every year we get an update to Pokemon Cafe Remix. I don't know if that game's still going. I know people would like a mystery dungeon. I don't know. All of these are just like wild ideas I'm throwing out. I don't anticipate we get all of them. We might get one of them.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that this could be a very telling presentation for kind of what is Game Freak's and the Pokemon Company's take on everything that happened with Scarlet and Violet. I won't say it will be, because I think the most likely scenario, I've been on the black and white train for a couple months now. I think that's going to happen. And I think like Diamond and Pearl, they'll have farmed that out to Ilka, probably the same studio that made those previous remakes. So it won't be a Game Freak developed game. So I don't think we see anything from Game Freak proper in this presentation. And that means this won't be a super telling presentation for what they think. If there is, for some reason, a Game Freak game, that's bad. That is a bad sign.
Oh, it's a bad sign. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. I would love to see Pokemon games on Switch Online. I think that is the easy slam dunk win that would make everybody happy and kind of get some goodwill back for Pokemon. So I'm thinking we'll see that. I'm thinking we'll see Black and White remakes and then maybe some other spinoff. I love Mystery Dungeon. I'd love to see that come back. But yeah, there better not be anything developed by Game Freak that's new.
I will say I actually don't think it'll be Ilka. I'm trying to look up like what they're working on right now, but when I was reading up on it earlier, they seem like they've been busy on a couple of other projects like fairly recently. I think they were involved in like a One Piece game and maybe a couple other things that are sort of coming out like last year, this year, next year, so something like that. They seemed busy when I was reading up on what they were doing, and so it seemed perhaps unlikely that they were also working on a Pokemon. Also, I don't know. I kind of feel like they got thrown under the bus a little bit for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I maintain those were pretty good games. I enjoyed them a lot. I think a lot of people were mad that they weren't platinum, and that's a fair complaint. I don't think that was Ilka's decision. I don't think they're at liberty to make that decision.
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is the one example of a Pokemon game on Switch that is maintaining their handheld roots. It's that top-down classic art style. I think it looks better than any other mainline Pokemon game on Switch.
It does. You're correct. And people complained that they were buggy. They were buggy if you played like 300 hours of them and did a bunch of weird running into quarters exploits and tried speedrunner strats. I played them straight through and finished the game in 30 hours or something. Didn't have a single problem. Meanwhile, we got Scarlet and Violet over here. Anyway, this is not attempting to start a Pokemon war, but I do feel like the community was really down on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is a bummer because they were totally solid, really enjoyable, pretty much exactly what I expected, which is great most of the time. Yeah. But I feel like the sentiment wasn't good, and I feel like CPC kind of threw them under the bus for that. So I don't know that we'll see Ilka again, but maybe we will. I don't know.
Who knows? Hey, we'll find out this time at this exact same time next week. I'm sure we'll get some updates on the card game, and they'll have a new region for Pokemon Go, and those will be
nice.
So all right, let's hit the Miiverse before we get into some question blonks. Logan, what you been up to?
I have been playing Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which came out last Friday, and I'm through about 5 worlds of it, and I think it's fine. I think it's good. Yeah,
it is exactly how I feel. It is a fine game.
It's Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I think that for me, who I think is the highest on Mario Brothers Wonder of almost anybody at IGN, maybe. I adore that game. And then a few months later it's a very different game, obviously, but I'm controlling Mario in 2D. It's hard to not draw comparisons to the last time I did that 4 months ago. I just think that Mario just feels stiff. He doesn't feel it doesn't feel as fluid and fun to control.
It's those classic, it's Donkey Kong, original Donkey Kong arcade style. Those games also, Mario moves badly. His
And
jump is so bad in the
Yeah.
I
Donkey
agree
Kong
with our
games.
review that the new worlds are the highlight. The puzzle design and the 2 new worlds they added is so much more interesting than the other ones, which it feels like a GBA game, which it is, and it's fine. Like it's not bad. I'm not down on it. It's just it's Mario versus Donkey Kong. Like you're not getting anything groundbreaking, super exciting. If you're a big fan of that series, you're probably really excited that this is back and this is a franchise that has found its way to Switch. Also, we know who made it now. It was Nintendo Software Technologies, who is their North American based developer who developed this entire series. So it stayed at home with the people who have made this series the entire time. But well, I don't know why they didn't tell us that before. Also, Charles Martinet is credited as Mario in this game because they just reused his voice clips. I found that really, really interesting. That I thought Wonder was going to mark kind of the fresh start where it's going to be the new voice actors forever going forward. But then for this remake, they went back to the old voice clips. So I'm curious to see if it's a case by case thing going forward, or if we're going to get new voice clips for future Mario stuff, or what. But I found that interesting that it was Charles here in this one.
I'm going to guess that contractually he sold over the rights, and they just were like, well, we could pay somebody new, or we could use what we have for free. And they went with a business decision.
Yeah, they probably would have had to re-record everything as opposed to reusing, and one of those is
or it
cheaper
was
and
probably
easier.
Or maybe this was there was a big actors strike. I don't know if you all remember that. That might have led some to, but regardless, it's a
Not in
fine
video
game.
games.
Logan, you also closed a chapter in your life.
I
this
did.
week.
I got the Sora amiibo. Last week was a big amiibo show. Here it is, the 96th.
Final.
I thought you were about to
Smash
ask
Brothers
him about
amiibo.
moving.
Oh no!
Well,
it's-
also.
Yeah. You can see if you're watching the video version, I'm in my new office, which is still pretty barren behind me, but I did set up the amiibo shelf right there. That's the most important thing. So
That's the most important. There it is.
yeah, that's all I have.
Very
It's
cool.
literally my desk and then my
Oh
amiibo.
my God,
temporary
Logan.
amiibo display is all.
And there's
that I
nothing
have
wrong
right now.
with that. I
Congratulations.
love those memes where it's
you.
like guys will like have this in their room and think it's okay, and I'm like, like there's a mattress on the floor and
And
there's
an
a stick.
amiibo shelf.
No, it's this. You will see this background evolve in the coming weeks. Yeah, it's going to become
Excellent.
much different than this. But yeah, I actually had a fun story with the Sora amiibo. It was a very fitting ending to the amiibo collection journey because I went to pick up my pre-order at Best Buy, my in-store pickup, and I was trying to pull up the barcode at the counter, and it was just not there. The order had completely disappeared from my account. So I just tried to go to the Sora amiibo page on bestbuy.com, and it was gone. The Sora amiibo was like delisted from bestbuy.com for a solid 4 hours on launch day.
Wow.
It was super bizarre. So I asked the customer service people, who were awesome, by the way. Shout out to the people at my local Best Buy. And they went and they dug around in the back and they were like, yeah, we have the Sora amiibo. We've sold it to multiple people today. And they went to the back and they had to get me to describe it, what it looked like, what the packaging looked like, show them a picture. And it felt like the old days when I would get to the store at 7 a.m. when the doors opened, and I would go up to the counter at the electronics department and say, I know you have these amiibo in the back. Can you go and check for me? They would wheel out this giant cardboard box cart, and they'd get their box cutter. They'd open up every single box, and they'd be like, this one. And I'm like, yes. I'm sorry for bothering you so much right now, but it was very reminiscent of that, and I did end up with the Sora amiibo from that Best Buy, and yeah, it was a fun story for the last one of the set.
Nice.
Oh.
Well, congratulations on that get. That was a hard one to get. A lot of people are still pretty bummed out. It came into stock at Target for like an hour yesterday, I think. So nice. All right, Reb, what have you been up to these days? Haven't seen you in a while. I haven't talked to you in forever. Feels like.
It's only been a couple weeks. I've been really busy. I've been traveling a lot. I've had a lot of work stuff going on, so I actually haven't been playing as many video games as I would have liked. I've been the stuff.
But excuse me, you can play Switch on the plane.
I am not a Switch on the plane person usually. I sleep on planes. I know.
Oh, okay, that's the life hack right there. It's a time travel hack.
Yeah, and what I have been. Most of my video game time has been devoted. Wow, I really can't talk today. That's like the third one devoted to Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. But the thing I have been playing on the go while I've been traveling is Nintendo. It's Nier Reincarnation on mobile. So I really like the Nier series. I love Nier Replicant. I love Nier Automata. I love the whole vibe of Nier. I've not played the Drakengard games, but I've read up on them, and I think that the whole universe is super cool. There was a Kotaku article several weeks ago. So Nier Reincarnation is this mobile game that came out a couple years ago, and it is it has been announced that it is winding down. It is going to officially shut down in April. The story is going to conclude in March. I didn't think anything of it. I played a little bit of it when it came out. It was fun. It was fine, but I wasn't super into it. Anyway, there was a Kotaku article talking about how Near Reincarnation is basically Near 3 and how the story stuff they've added in the last couple chapters this year has basically turned it into a sequel to Automata and continued that story. And apparently the consequences of what is going on in Reincarnation are wild for the Nier series. So I read this and thought, oh my God, I have to know what this is. So because it's a mobile game at the end of its life cycle, it's a free to play game with like gacha mechanics and stuff. But at the end of its life cycle, they are just pouring free currency onto players. So
hell yeah.
I have spent no money on this game whatsoever. I logged in and immediately got enough currency to pull just like tons and tons of characters from the gacha, pick the best ones, level them up very high, and just burn through this story. I think I played the whole story through in about 10 hours total, just in fits and starts on my phone. There's like a stamina mechanic that probably used to keep you from playing too much in one sitting. Totally irrelevant now because you're just given so much stamina. Like, you can just play this like a normal video game now. Anyway, for like the first 3/4 of that time, it totally irrelevant seemingly to Nier. But then towards the, like, as you get closer and closer to where the story is now, you start seeing little bits of things that will be familiar if you're really into the Nier universe. And then the most recent couple chapters completely merge. And it is wild. If you are a Nier person and you are not playing Reincarnation, you should play it, because the consequences of what is going on in that game completely change where that series is left off. And if they ever do another like big console Nier game, they have to incorporate this somehow. There's no way they can't. The final chapter's coming out in March. I'm fully caught up now, so I've set it aside. But I am like, my brain is exploding. I freaking love this game.
Wow.
Also, the music, Keiichi Okabe, never written a bad piece of music.
Well, damn. All right. Well, people can check that out on mobile.
Yeah, free to play. It's on mobile. And you do not have to spend any money on it whatsoever. If you're opening it and think you need to spend money, look in your gift box again. You're fine.
There's no plans that we know about for more Nier right now, is there? Like, could this be the end of the Nier series, or do you think that it is going to come back in a console game at some point?
Oh no, this one will be in the next Nintendo Partner Direct as a Switch port.
I'd have to see like what the final chapter ends up being to figure out where it leaves the story, because I don't want to spoil it for people, but depending on what the ending does, I could see a version of this ending very much opening the door to more Nier games and a continuation. And I can also see a version of this ending being sort of a definitive period on this story. I know there was a
weird
news
place
story
to do it though.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, but so the ending of Nier Automata also kind of puts a period on the story, but then this one opens a new possibility, I guess I'll say. But it's these games are so weird. There was a canceled Nier mobile game that got reported recently. I don't really know much about that. I think like Tencent was involved or something. Or maybe it was. Maybe I'm mixing that up with something else. I think I might be mixing that up with something else. But there was a canceled Nier mobile game that was reported on recently. So there, and I've heard like rumors too that Yoko Taro is trying to work on something, but it's just, I don't think anything's materialized. So I think it's really clear that guy still has ideas for where he wants to take this series. It's just we don't have anything concrete at the moment, and it's unclear like who would end up developing that, who would end up publishing it, how it would end up coming together. I don't know, but I don't think we're done with Nier.
Nice. Well, only the future. Tell us the future. I don't know what I was trying to say there. All right. 6th week in a row, but this is actually the final time I'm going to speak on Prince of Persia, because The Lost Crown, because I actually beat it last week. What a friggin' game. I'm like making mental notes when Game of the Year stuff starts rolling around that this has to be in the conversation, because it is phenomenal. And I love it. And I talk about it every week, how great it is. And like the final boss battle is kind of brutal. I played it on normal difficulty, and normal difficulty is pretty hard. So I'm glad I didn't start it on a higher difficulty. My friend beat it on easy, and he's like, yeah, I was okay. playing it on easy. So, but like once again, if you haven't played this game, go play this game because it rules. It's awesome. It's completely worth checking out. It's so fun. I think I'm gonna go back and try to 100% it because there's still a couple of little shadowy areas on my map that I never went around to, and I have all the abilities unlocked. But the other game that I wanted to speak on was actually it's 3 games in one. That's the
Ooh.
Tomb Raider Remastered Collection.
Ooh.
And oh my God, Sam Claiborne actually had a code and he's like, would you be interested? And I was like, oh my God, I loved that original series. Like Tomb Raider 2, I remember playing it thinking like, this is the best game I've ever played in my life. I was like, I'm really interested to see how they play in 2024. And he just like wrote in Slack, like, LOL, not good. And he was right. It is hard. It is very hard to return to this game. I'm bummed out. There are controls though that you can change to be modern controls. You don't have to use those awful PlayStation 1 DualShock like controls. But the new controls aren't that much better. There's some weird stuff like you have to be moving to jump. You can't jump forward unless you're already moving forward. The new graphics are nice, but I actually prefer the like janky PlayStation 1 style graphics.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about picking this up because you loved the Tomb Raider games and you haven't played them in a while, they're hard to go back to for a lot of reasons. Like the ridiculousness, we're watching the opening cutscene of like Lara Croft is on a mountain in the Himalayas and she's wearing her like booty shorts and her like sports bra on this during the
As
snowstorm
one does.
with a cloak. Yeah, it's silly. I mean, I might try to keep playing it, but it's like games have come so far. This was a revolutionary game, one of the coolest things that I remember experiencing back in the day, but it hasn't aged well. Historically, it's significant, but you could probably skip that one. All right. Joanna Nicholas Ponder says, "How are you?" Well,
Oh.
thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. And then wants to know, what books are you reading? Reb, you reading any books right now?
Yeah.
I know the answer to this because you always are.
I am always. I'm in between books right now. So I just finished this book called The Editor, which is a fictional story about a man who is an he's an author, but he hasn't really he's published a few short stories, but he hasn't quite gotten a novel out yet. And he's shopping around what he hopes will be his first big published novel. And an editor takes an interest in it, and he goes to meet that editor and talk with her about it. And the editor happens to be Jackie Kennedy. Which is a real. I mean, it's a fictional book, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she was doing book
Yeah.
editing, and so it's basically this fictional imagining of him working with her on his book, and learning things about her and her life, and then learning things about himself in the process, and his relationship to his own mother. It's really beautiful. It's kind of a cool story. I have no idea how much historical accuracy is involved there, but I really enjoyed it, and I am on the cusp of reading Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. I haven't opened it and started it yet, but I've had a lot of friends speak very highly of that book, especially as a writer. So I'm curious to get into it.
How many? Because I think when I do see you on social media, it's mostly like pictures of a book that you've just read. How many books do you read, sort of in a month?
Usually it's not as many. It's usually about 2 a month. I set myself a
good.
goal of 24 a year, so roughly 2 a month. But what ends up happening is some months I read 0, and some months I read like 7. So
Sure.
it's a very mood thing for me. Like I'll get into book moods, and then I'll get out of a book mood and into a video game mood. And right now I was in a book mood at the start of this year, and now I'm moving into a video game mood again, and it'll turn back around.
Sure. All right. Nice. Logan, what about you? You reading any books?
Yeah, so baseball season starts in about a month, so I'm very
Yeah.
hyped. So I am reading some baseball books. Like I have a memoir about one of the Seattle Mariners broadcasters, Dave Niehaus. He was the broadcaster from the 70s until he passed away in 2010. And so there's a memoir about him that I'm reading right now. But what I've spent the last weekend reading was the manual for my new desk that I put together. That was the most confounding, confusing, obtuse thing. Oh my goodness. Because there's no text, it's just images. And
they don't.
so hard
They don't
to
do text
decipher
anymore.
what to do.
Yeah.
And I ended up building one part in reverse and had to take it apart and do it again because the instructions told me go to the wrong page. So, but it's together now and it's very nice. But yeah, it took me probably 12 hours to build.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
But it was a
god!
marathon.
No,
You could have
thank
built a table from like scratch. You could have just bought
Yeah, I
lumber.
could've chopped
and some
down the tree and
Yeah.
Well, I just finished the fifth Dune book, Heretics of Dune.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, because during the pandemic, I was like, I've never read Dune, and I want to read Dune. Fine, like I tried a couple times when I was like younger, and I couldn't kind of get past it. It was a little bit too dense for me. But as an adult, I read the first one, I loved it. I read the second one, wasn't that great. Third one, pretty good. The fourth one rules, and
Oh,
then the fifth one
interesting.
is about like the fifth one gets good about 60 pages from the end, and it's like a 500-page book. There's a lot of stuff set up, but yeah, so I'm gonna start. I immediately the next day after I finished Heretics of Dune, which is basically outer space sex witches are. Somebody's moving a chair upstairs. Outer space sex witches are trying to take the galaxy away from the Bene Gesserit, who are the normal space witches, and then there's some murders and intrigue and things of that nature. And then I went to go get Chapter House Dune at my local bookstore. They didn't have it.
Oh.
So, and now I'm reading, I can't remember the exact title of it. I think it's called The Three Pillars of Zen Buddhism. So that's what I'm reading right now. But yeah, I love to read. I have a stack of books like next to my bed. Both my wife and I. She likes to read books about, she's got a master's in industrial organizational psychology. So she likes to read books about, workplace and leadership and things like that. And I just read Marvel comics, sci-fi books, historical books. I just finished a book about Louis the 14th.
Ooh.
That was a slog. That guy, boy, shout out to the Sun King, Vive le Roi. Yeah, France still loves him, but he wasn't that great. Apparently, it smelled really bad in those days. Anyway, yeah, I just read all the time. I love reading. It's like one of my funnest hobbies. It's not video games, but unlike video games, I can read right before I go to bed. If I play a video game before I go to bed, I will play that video game.
Yes.
Well, like I did with Blast Core, I will stay up the entire night. So,
I gotta shout out something that the audience should read, which is Brian
What's that?
Altano's preview of Princess Peach Showtime.
Oh my God. I wanted Altano on the show this week, but unfortunately he couldn't make it because he's flying somewhere again, because he's always on the move. That guy, he never stops.
He liked it though. He said it was definitely skewed towards a younger audience, like we've kind of been suspecting the last several weeks we've talked about the game, but that it was charming like you would expect in a Nintendo game, and that he was excited to play more. So that was the general gist of the preview. But yeah, we're only about a month away now.
Yep, March 22nd. So exactly a month away. And then that's also when the pink pastel Joy-Cons come
Here
out.
we go!
And there it is. We are drawing to a close, but I'm actually closing a little bit early because, Reb, what do you want to shout out real quick? Shout it out.
I'm shouting something out?
Yeah,
oh my
shout
God.
it out.
Talking about books, shout out to Honest Dog Books in Wisconsin, which I get a book subscription from, and they send me a curated book every 2 months based on my interests that I have told them.
That sounds amazing. And I'm sorry, Logan, but I don't have time for you to shout anything out. But that's all the time we have left for this week's NVC. Before we go, I have a few favors to ask. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a like and a nice comment. If you're listening to us on a podcast app, please leave us a review. Helps us spread the good NVC word. We'll be forever in your debt. And remember, NVC is the only place where you can
Get the thing!
get the thing.